right, so we are on box 23, which happens to be a box from the Melcon event that I had. I thought I had opened all my Melcon boxes, but there's more in there. So let's have a look at what's in here. So first one I have is 5 Cucumbers. This is a game that I bought at FallCon 2018, and actually I think it was gifted to me. You're just kind of like, here, you grab this one. They were kind of clearing games that weren't getting used ever. And this one is amazing. It comes with little cucumber wooden bits, and it's a trick-taking game, and there's only one suit, cucumbers. And you do 7 tricks, and you only score the last one, and you'll score the amount of cucumbers that's on the card. So there'll be 1 to 4 cucumbers. So you're trying to keep your lowest card in your hand so that you don't win the last trick, because whoever reaches 5 cucumbers is eliminated. And then with this one, so somebody will play, let's say, a 5, then you have to be equal or higher than what's been played. So you'll kind of play that. Now, if let's say somebody plays a 15, which is the highest card available, and you're not able to match it, then you have to play your lowest card. It can't be any other card. It has to be the lowest card that you have. And the lowest card is a 1. Now, with the 1, it's actually a ×2. So if on the last trick you can play a 1 because you managed to hold on to it, then whoever wins that trick has to double the number of cucumbers they pick up. It's so good. This is an amazing game. So 5 cucumbers. And then I have Too Many Poops. We, for some reason, have a lot of poop games in this household. So Too Many Poops is about collecting cats and managing the litter box. You are trying to make sure that you don't get overrun by poop in the litter box, or you get eliminated, you lose the game. But you're trying to get different cats, collect different cats, but some cats don't get along with other cats, so you're trying to avoid those ones, because then they'll go on their, like, the bad side, and they'll be worth less points. So Too Many Poops. And then I have Cover Your Assets. I've heard lots of good things about it. Honestly, I've heard lots of good things about all the Grandpa Beck's game, but I've never played this one yet. I purchased it a few months ago, and I'm excited to try it. So Cover Your Assets. Then I have Wordsy. Wordsy is my favorite word game ever. What's so great about it is you'll have letters, and they'll be assigned different value, and you have to come up with a word, and then you'll score your word. What's neat about it is you can use any letters that you want. You're not limited to the letters that are on the table. You just only score the letters that are on the table. So it kind of makes it more accessible, I think, just because you're not limited to kind of a very narrow alphabet and trying to come up with fancy words with no letters to use. It's one that I've played and enjoyed quite a bit. And then sometimes, like in this case, you know, if you LEB would give you 10 points. So it's just kind of coming up with words that'll use the high scoring cards, and then those letters go over, the rest shift down, and you get 2 new letters for the next round. It's a lot of fun. Wordsy. Then I have Redlands. So this is the retail edition of Redlands. I first almost played this when it was in its prototype form back at the FallCon in 2018, and hadn't get to play it then. I've played it twice now. I think just a couple of times, because then, you know, Melcon happened and all that stuff. And it's an interesting one. It's kind of, you have your 3 location that you're trying to defend, and you'll put the people card in front of them, so they are defending those. And you kind of decide which card you want to just discard to get the corner action of it, or which one you want to put to kind of protect, which one you want to activate to do their special abilities, and so on. It's a neat game, Redlands. All right, then I have The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9. So this is a cooperative trick-taking game. Honestly, I've only played it the one time, And the one time we were playing, one guy I was playing with kept missing, like say, okay, so this is the goal we want to do. So we want to get somebody to do, okay, we're going to make it so that you do that. And then I would play the things like, okay, great, it's perfect. And then you can play that and win. And then he would have like, didn't you have this? Like, aren't you the one who's like, oh yeah, I forgot. So we need to play this again. Because it wasn't the best. The first round, I think we're kind of missing what we're trying to do. And then this one is, no, it's the German name, but the game is Stickum. And it's a trick-taking game where you're trying to force other players to collect as many points as they can, because you'll kind of select a color that you're avoiding, and then you'll try to force them to collect those colored cards, and then they're going to count as points on their turn. It's a mean game. Like, it is a take that game. My stepdaughter loved it. But it's a really fun one, so stick 'em. Then I have Duel of Dragons by Fundamental Games. This is still in shrink. I got it just before Malcon, so I haven't got to play it yet. It's a 1 or 2 player. There's 50 cards and it plays in about 30 minutes. Puts 2 powerful. Oh, so you're battling dragons with each other in a battle to the death. It looks really neat, so I'm excited to give this one. I like card games, so I'm excited to give this one a try. Then I have a few Tiny Epic games here. So I have Tiny Epic Zombies. This is the first game I've kickstarted ever. And with these ones, like, it's really cool. You have these little tiny zombie meeples that have like their hands like out in front of them, and you're in a mall and you'll be drawing a couple of quest cards basically, and it gives you different things that you're trying to accomplish in order to escape this mall. And then if your character ever have their like health and their bullet meet each other, then they become zombies. So then you kind of pass those on, and then you get a new character. And this is interesting because you can play cooperative, you can play everybody against everybody, you can play everybody against the zombie player, which from what I understand is the way that most people enjoy playing it. So 1 to 5 players, Tiny Epic Zombies. Then I have Tiny Epic Quest, which honestly really is Zelda, the board game. So you have the map, you got to travel across the map, you got to learn spells, you got to defeat ogres, and you're collecting items. So you kind of get your sword, you get your shield, you know, so it kind of really has that Zelda theme to it without it actually having an official Zelda theme to it. But it's probably one of my favorite Tiny Epic games, so that's Tiny Epic Quest. Then I have Tiny Epic Galaxies. This is, I think, the second one I purchased. But it's really neat because, like, as you're collecting the planets, they add on the bottom and give you more abilities that you can activate. And then you're going, and you can either orbit the planet or land on the planet. So if you land on the planet, you get to activate its ability. If you orbit the planet, and you got to kind of level up around, and then if you're the first one to do that, you get to take the planet and then add it into your special abilities. It's a really neat one. It's a pretty simple play, but it's fun. And that's Tiny Epic Galaxies. Then I have Tiny Epic Kingdom. This was my first Tiny Epic game that I ever purchased, and I bought it secondhand. And this is more like an area control game, and I've played it, and then I was blown away by it. I was so impressed. It was the first time I came across where somebody picks an action and everybody does the same action. And I remember playing it, like picking it up in Calgary, and I went to my sister's and I played it with my nephew, and I was so blown away. And then at the time I had a fairly small house. People in my household weren't big board game fans, so I was limited to a closet. So it's like, you can't go past a closet. So having a tiny game like this that actually give you that big game feel was amazing, and that's kind of what got me going on the Tiny Epic series, and I pretty much own all of them now. So then I have Tiny Epic Western, and this one is a neat one as well. Like, it's a worker placement game, and then you kind of still put your workers on different space that you want to activate, and then there's some where you can, like, hey, do the action right away, so it's a smaller action, or do the later action, you got to win that location, but if you do, you get a better action. And then you have these cards. Well, you'll have one card and kind of what's on the on the table, so you'll have like card in between each one, and it's like a simplified version of poker. And if you win the hand, then you win that action, and you kind of get the special, I guess, resource from the locations, and it's neat. And it's kind of designed to, it looks like a wagon wheel when it's all set up. It looks great. So that's Tiny Epic Western. Then I have Tiny Epic Dungeon. This is the latest one that I've got. The first time we played it wrong. I was like, okay, we're beating this monster. We're doing good. It's fun, but it seems a little bit easy. And I kept hearing about how this game was not easy. So I was like, we're not playing this right. And then one thing that's really great about this too is the Tiny Epic games, like I'll show all the latest Tiny Epic games, is on the Dized app. So Dized, and that's D-I-Z-E-D, is an app where they have game tutorials. I've done the Gloomhaven one, and it is amazing. So it's like having somebody at the table teaching you how to play the game, but they know all the rules. They're not going to forget anything. And they walk you through the game as you're playing the game. It's amazing. If you have a chance and you have a game that's on Dized now that you want to learn, I highly recommend that app. Then, looks like that might have been it for my Tiny Epics. So, I have Impact, Battle of Elements. My friend Carla was talking about the game Strike in the podcast for the Small Dice Game podcast where we did. And as she's talking about it, I'm like, oh my God, I kind of want this. So Impact plays very similar. It has a different theme. And it's more like you're trying to get elements. And you have, like, the box is the board game. And you will kind of chuck a dice in there and you're trying to get match. And then when you get a match, you pull those out and you put them back in your hand. If you ever run out of dice, you're eliminated. So you're trying to roll these dice and then kind of get match and pull them out. Really, really neat. The kids really enjoyed it. And it plays like super quick. So it's a very simple game, but it's fun. That's Impact. Then I have Skyfall. So Skyfall is one that I've heard lots about and I haven't got to play it. It kind of reminds me a bit of the Chameleon game, which I have played once. So with this one is you get a role. One person is a spy and the other one kind of get the information of what location you're at. And then you'll kind of go around asking questions. So you're trying to be vague because you don't want the spy to kind of be obvious as to where he is. But from what I understand, everybody kind of gets a separate role for where you're at as well. So if you're at the beach and you could be like, hey, so what are you wearing? And then one person would be like, well, I'm dressed fairly casual and jeans. I was like, are you wearing jeans at the beach? Or like, maybe, but really? Like, maybe not. But then maybe the role kind of makes them where, you know, they would be. So it kind of sounds interesting. And like I said, I have never played this. So I'm really excited to try this sometime. This is more like a party game. So it's 3 to 8 players. So that's Skyfall. And then I have Cartographer. Cartographer is a really neat roll and write. And I had heard lots about it, and then I got it and actually bought the dry erase pens for it. But so you get a map, and then you'll have like, first you'll score A and B, then you'll score B and C, and then you score C and D, and then you go score A and D. So you kind of want to build the stuff to kind of match, and then you'll flip a card and it'll say, okay, you can do that shape in either this terrain or this terrain. So depending on what you're about to score, might be what you want to do. And you have different rules to follow on what's going to score how. Really, really neat. Really enjoy this one. So that's Cartographer. Let me put my lid on the right way. There you go. I really should laminate some of these sheets on there and then just play with the dry erase markers. So then I have Arboretum. This one I bought as a Christmas gift for a friend. And then when it arrived, I was like, what? It's a deluxe edition. I want to keep it. So I ended up buying them a different game and I kept this one. But all the cards are foiled. It comes in a wooden box, and but it's neat. And it's really interesting because it's a puzzly game. You collect all these trees and then you're trying to create a path in this tableau that you're building. And you gotta kind of do where it's a numerical order. So your path would have to go like from 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, you know, like it can skip numbers, but it gotta maintain a numerical order. It doesn't have to be all of the same tree. You can skip from one tree to a different tree and then kind of go back, but it has to start and end with the same tree in order for it to count as a path. However, you only get to score the path and the different tree path of for the person who has the highest value of that tree in their hand. So if you've kind of put all your points in the path to get like this really great path, if you didn't keep a high valued card in your hand for you to kind of win that path, you don't get to score it. So it's kind of an interesting puzzle. There's different aspects kind of to think about when you're playing this one, but it's really cool. And if you have the 1, then it eliminates the 8. So there's different things going with this, and it's a neat game. Then I have the Pit. The Pit is a very noisy game. It's kind of about the stock market. There's different markets, different goods that you'll be kind of trading for. And you're trying to be the first to get all cards in one commodity. Then you get to ring the bell. So you're kind of like, hey, I'll trade this, blah, blah, blah. And then like, it gets really noisy. Like you will see when you're like on the floor of I forget what it's called now, but at the stock market, and you get all these people on the floor yelling and throwing papers around. This is what this game is. So it gets really noisy, and you're trying to collect, you know, the wheat, or you're trying to collect all the sugars, or when you have all of the 1, then you get to score, and they're all worth different values. And then you hit the bell in the middle, and it's hectic, it's fast, but it's a lot of fun. And that's the Pit, and you can hear the bells in there. So. Then I have the Skull. Skull is such a simple, neat game. Now, when I first read about it, I'm like, I don't get it. Like, so you have coasters in front of you. You put a coaster face down, and then you can kind of keep stacking coasters, and then you're bidding on whether you can flip, how many coasters you think you can flip without revealing a skull. But you have to reveal all the ones in front of you before you reveal other players. So there's a bluffing element to it as well. And then if you do this 2 times, you win the game. But at first I'm like, what? And then you got playing it, but it works and it's good. And then you kind of get going as like, hey, I'm gonna bid 2. Well, she already flipped 1. If she wins, then she wins. So I can't let her win. So then somebody bids 3. And turns out I had a skull in my pile already. So they flip 2 of theirs, and they come and flip mine, and it's a skull. It's like, ah, and then they lose one of their coasters. And then, you know, like you kind of randomly pick one, and so it could be that they have no skull anymore, or it could be that they still have a skull. You don't know. It's just a really neat, interesting game. And the artwork on these coasters is gorgeous. We played it with the kids. They love it. I've played it with a bunch of different group of people, and they've loved it. It's just one that goes over well. And that's a Skull. Then I have Quest Rose. Quest Rose, it's just funny because if you look at it, like the title works both ways. But this one is a trick-taking game that plays with a functioning tarot deck. So this is a tarot deck. You have the 4 suits. It goes like with all the different cards that you would find in a tarot deck. But it turned it into a trick-taking game. Now I found that so interesting, and it has also that magnetic box closure that I just love. So really, really interested in playing this. It plays 2 to 6 players, a trick-taking game that utilizes tarot cards. So super excited to give this one a try. I haven't had the chance to get this to the table yet. But yes, I want to play this. And then I have No Thanks. No Thanks is a very simple, I would say it's a party game as well. It's one that you can play a lot of players. 3 to 7 players, so it plays fairly high. And then what will happen is you'll flip a number, and you either take the card or you don't take the card. But if you take the card, you're taking these points on. But if you get a run, so let's say I have 7, 8, 9, any runs that you have, you score the lowest card of that run, you don't score the other ones. So if I had 7, 9, 10, 11, I really want the 8, ideally, because it would take all of those points and down to just 7. And at the end of the game, you want to be the player with the least amount of points. So when there's a card in front of you, like, this really doesn't work, I really don't want to get this, then you put a black token on it. And you start with so many tokens. And then you kind of go around and you kind of continue adding black tokens until you have to, somebody takes their card. Either you run out of black token and there's enough black tokens that makes it interesting that people wants to take it. Because the black tokens are spent to skip on cards. There also counts as -1 points at the end of the game. So they're very beneficial to have. But if you don't have a black token to play, then you have to take the card, right? So it's a really simple, interesting, fun game. So that's no thanks. Then I have just a crib board. I'm Acadian. My family played tons of crib board. Everybody in my family has a crib board at home, probably more than one. They probably have multiple crib boards at home. And this was just what you did every night. Like in the evening, mostly in the wintertime, you would play crib. And they were, you know, they were good. And then they wouldn't take it easy just because you're a kid. Like you had to hold your own. This plays 2 players, 3 players, teams of 2, and so 2 teams of 2. You could play 3 teams of 2 as well. It's just such a neat... Can you play 3 teams of 2? Maybe not. Maybe the team was only up to 4 because then you would have way too many cards in the crib. But such a fun game. So you have this board to peg and it plays with the regular deck of cards. And then you get 6 cards depending on the number of players that you have. But 2 players, you would get 6 cards. You have to put 2 cards in the crib and you take turn getting a crib as an extra hand you can score. But you can't really control what's in there per se other than the cards you put in. Then you look at your cards and you're trying to score. Now runs will give you points. Cards that matches will give you points. Any card that you can combine that will tally up to 15 will give you points. So you kind of tally all your points and you peg along on the board to kind of keep track. And whoever gets to 121 first is the winner. Such an amazing, amazing game. Crib is so much fun. So that's my crib board, or one of them. Then I have Gloom. So Gloom is really interesting, as in all the cards are see-through. You have your character cards that'll have like a little story about the different characters in your family, and then you will add and play different clear cards on top of it, and it'll cover some of the information. And then it'll have a little blurb on the bottom that kind of gives a story. And basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to add these cards to your characters that's going to be something horrific. Your body gets covered in boils, so it's so bad, and you know, people shame you because of it, so that you get -20 points. Like, and it's like your spirit level, I guess, is down 20 points. And then what you want to do is you want to get your family members really nice, deeply depressed with a deep negative score, and then when they're really deep and negative score, you want to kill them off. And then they kind of save those points. And then at the end of the game, when somebody kills off all their family members, whoever has the lowest score wins the game. It's so dark and gloomy, but it's hilarious. This is one we'll play at Halloween quite a bit. But the kids really enjoy this one, so Gloom. What else we have in here? We have Canvas. Canvas is a neat game. So it's another one with clear cards, and you have these sleeves that have like a plain background, and you add 3 cards that will create an art of some sort. And they'll have symbols along the top. So depending on how you stack them, what shows up in the symbol, and you'll have different cards that'll indicate what you need down here symbol wise in order to score. So it could be like if you have 2 squares, you would score so much, or if it's like 2 and 2, you would score so much, or if you have every color represented, you would score so much. And it's just depending on the card, so it always changes, and the value of what those ribbons are. So then you would kind of draw cards, and then you have these little canvas tokens, and that allows you to kind of skip some cards to go get a card further down. So you got to put a canvas on each one, and then you would do 3 paintings, and then that kind of ends your game, and you would tally up your points, and whoever has the most point is the winner. Canvas, it's a lot of fun. It's neat. I mean, it is a very simple game, but it's one that looks so cool, and it's a neat one to play. Then I have Dominant Species, the card game. So I got this one at Melcon. It was, I can't remember if I bought this one or somebody gave it to me. But I've heard of Dominant Species. I have never played Dominant Species, so I'm not sure how that works. But it looks cool, so I'm excited to give it a try. And then I have Lantern, the Harvest Festival. We played this one completely wrong the first time we played it, but I could still tell this would be interesting. And then the way that it works is you place these tiles, and then the tile that faces you is the resource you'll be collecting. And then all the other sides will be what the other players collect, but then any color combination that you kind of tack onto each other that matches, you would collect that resource as well if you collect playing the tile. Then you collect all these different colored lanterns, and then you can trade them in to collect victory points, and then at the end of the game is whoever has the most victory point is the winner. It's a simple game, but it's kind of a neat puzzly tile laying game, so it's fun. Lantern, the Harvest Festival. I've got a lot of games here that are upside down, so I don't know why. Like where the lid is upside down from the back, that bugs me. I don't know, like this. Anyway, so this one is Lotus. Lotus is stunning. It is such a good looking game. And you add all these different petals, and once you complete the flower scores, and whoever has the most representation will win the bonus, but whoever completes the flower will collect all the petals. And then you can add your little, you get like little insects, wooden bits that you can add to the different flowers to increase your, because it's a bit like an area control, so to increase your control on the flower. And then you can collect points, you can unlock some special powers, and then you'll kind of keep playing until you run out of cards, and then whoever has the most, because each petal is going to give you a point, each flower that you kind of had control or the most control of will give you points as well, so whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. I remember playing this with my sister, and she's like, oh my god, really? Because it looks so cutesy, she thought it'd be like a stupid game. And we got playing, and it's so strategic really that she's like, whoa. And she was really impressed at how much strategy actually is in that game. Then I have, this got kind of all shuffled over. But this is Splendor. Now Splendor has really neat kind of poker chip like bits that are so satisfying to play with. I'm just gonna put these anywhere right now, so we'll sort it some other time. And what's neat with this one is you will have, on your turn, you can draw some poker chips, and each poker chip has a different gem of some sort. So you'll be collecting these, and when you have enough, you can spend to buy the cards. So each card have a different requirement of what you need to have in order to buy that card. So then you'll be buying that cards that will actually give you a permanent gem that you can utilize. So now if I buy this one, I have a green one all the time that I can utilize to buying other cards. So, and there's more powerful cards that you can buy. It's going to cost you more, but they're going to be worth points at the end. So you start collecting those, trying to get more, the different gems so that you can collect more. And then for each card that you collect, you can later on start collecting nobles for like every set of cards. Like this one requires that you have 3 green cards, 3 blue cards, and 3 white cards. And then once you reach that, you get this one. And then the noble is going to give you a point as well. And I think it's the first player to 16 points triggers the end of the game. Then you kind of finish the round, and then whoever has the most point is the winner. And that's Splendor. Then in here is Kabuki Sumo. And I do believe this is the missing game that my friend Michael might have been looking for. He texted me, says, hey, I can't find this game. Any chance it's in your boxes? I was like, I don't know. I got 26 boxes packed up. I have no idea where any of them are. So I think this is it, because I'm pretty sure I've never purchased this one. And it's one of those where you have all these things and you kind of add stuff trying to knock them down, from what I understand. I have no idea. I've never played this game, and I don't think it's mine. So if it's his, he'll be thrilled that I found it, and so that's good. I'll put that one aside. Then I have Einstein. And I am so excited for this one. I've never heard of it. It's Einstein's amazing life and incomparable science. And each player plays as a different version of him. Like where he's young Einstein, prime Einstein, globe-trotting Einstein, and then wise Einstein. And you have like the different characters of who you can play. And then it's like a tile laying where you put different formulas and different things that I like. I don't know how it plays, but all the components looks so amazing that I'm super excited to give this one a try. I bought it at Gobfest, so Einstein, super excited to try that one. Then my mom was at a yard sale and she ended up buying Funkoverse Harry Potter. And you know, so she's like, well, I bought it thinking maybe I could play with the grandkids. I was like, oh, that sounds great. They probably would love that. I was like, here's a tutorial on how to play. And she's like, oh, I'm not, this looks too complicated. I'm not learning that. So she gave it to me. I've never played Funkoverse. I've heard great things about it. I like the Harry Potter theme. The component looks really cool. So I'm excited to give this one a try. So that's Funkoverse Harry Potter. So it has Draco Malfoy and Ron Weasley. Yee. Okay. Then I have Dice Hospital. Dice Hospital is one that I'm really excited to try. It looks great. Your dice are actually your patients, and you kind of roll them and you sort them in each of the little ambulance cards. And then the lower the pip on there, the closer to death that they are. And you're trying to do, like it's worker placement where you'll go thing and they'll be like, hey, well, you can kind of increase the pip on the yellow dice. Or if you go there, you can do this. And then you're trying to heal your dice so that they become healthy and then you can discharge them. Dice Hospital looks super cool. And that's another one that's all crooked. I don't know who does this. All right. Then I have, oh boy, Hemotype. Hemotype is a fairly simple game to play. And it's really cool because each player gets a color cube. And these cubes are nice, big, chunky cubes. And you will take turn placing them on the boats. And then when the boat has enough cubes, you can send them out to one of the different locations that will do different things. So you can build a pyramid, and each time you put a cube on, you'll score. You can put them in a temple, and each clusters that you create, you'll be scoring at the end of the game. You can go to the market and draw cards that will give you special abilities or things to kind of count points. And then you can go to the obelisk where you're building these towers. And then the other one is the pyramid. Oh, the burial chamber. So it's really neat. It plays quick. It's a fairly simple game, but it's a lot of fun. Then I have in here Whistle Stop. I bought Whistle Stop at Calgary YYC game event that they did in the spring. I had heard lots of good things about it, and then I did a solo play just to kind of learn how to play, and it looks cool. So if you have coal, it moves you forward from the east to the west of the map. And then you add tiles to it, creating a bunch of different railroad tracks, and then they'll have little stations that you can kind of pick up, little dots that you'll pick up until you get to like a major station and where you can trade them in for different things. And you can get whistles, and whistles allows you to go forward and backwards. And you have all a bunch of different trains that you kind of try to collect, and you're trying to set it up so you collect the different elements so you can activate the bigger ones and then get to the further one. And then when you get to the end station all the way west, then you get to park that train and you get like a really powerful ability that you can activate. It looked cool. Like I said, I played this just by myself, like I was playing as if I was 2 players. To get a sense of it, but this is going to be a neat game, so I'm excited to play it with actual people. Then I have Heaven and Ale, and this one is a really neat game where you kind of go around this rondel, you can go as far forward as you want to get what you want, but then you can never go back, so you don't want to go too far forward because you're skipping out on a bunch of stuff. And you have like your own player board that you're trying to add these tiles to. Depending on which side you play, it'll either give you money or it'll give you the ability to upgrade your that particular resource. And then at the end of the game, you score the lowest resource versus the how far your monk has moved to. So you're trying to get all of your resource move forward so you can score as high as possible because it has to be the lowest one, so you don't want to have any major trailer ones. And then I have at the bottom here, Santorini. So Santorini is a really neat 2-player dexterity game. I guess it could be, not dexterity, it's abstract game. I mean, there's a 3-player variant as well from what I understand. But what's super neat is you're trying to be king of the hill. So you're building these buildings, these Santorini buildings, trying to get to the top, but you can block another person from going on the top by putting these blue domes, and then nobody can go on top of it. So you're kind of moving your actions, moving your players, because you can only build around one player, and you can't go from like the ground level to level 3. You have to have like step up way of getting up and down. It's neat. It is like it looks stunning when it's all set up with all those buildings and that sort of stuff. It's a very attractive game, and it's a neat puzzle to play. Then I have, oh my god, this one is heavy, Galaxy Trucker, and I've played Galaxy Trucker a couple of times and I'm impressed with it. I just purchased it not too long ago. So with this one, it plays in 2 parts. First part is you're collecting pieces and you're building your ship, and then the second part is you're going through your travels and see how much of your ship survived. But you'll be collecting goods that you'll add to your cargo hold. You'll have meteorites that will kind of attack you, or alien ships that will attack you, so you need to have some defense in place for that. It is neat. It is such a fun game. I had heard good things about it. So when my friend was selling it, I was like, ooh, yeah, I want to buy that one. And I'm really glad that I did. So I definitely got to give this one up. My table is filling up here. And then I have Lost Rune of Arnak. So this is one that's like a lot of different mechanism into the game, and it's kind of a busy looking board, but it's fairly straightforward to play. But you have like deck building elements, you have resource collection element, and you have all these different things you can concentrate on that's going to give you points. So it's kind of one of those, like, there's definitely multiple paths to victory, which I enjoy. It plays about 30 minutes a player, so it's not a very long game. It's been an enjoyable one. I bought this one a few years ago now, 1-2 years ago. So it's just a neat game. Let me move my clipboard so I can fit more games here. And then I have a deck of Iron Spades. So Roxley Games sent these here. So it's just it's a Roxley deck of card, just a regular deck of card. From what I understand, they're really great quality. This one's still in shrink, so I haven't used it yet. So I'm excited to play. I've got so many deck of cards, it's ridiculous, but you know, here's one more. Then I have Just One, and Just One is such a cool party game. Everybody has this little plastic teepee thing you have in front of you, and then it's cooperative, so one player will put a card that they can't see, and they'll pick a number, and it can have anything on it. So the example they have on here, so the word is circus, so they would say number 2, circus. So everybody has to write down a clue for circus. So you could put clown, you could put tent, you could put all sorts. So they put tent, clown, arena, but 2 people put clown, and if you have somebody else that uses the same word as you do, it gets crossed off, and then the player doesn't get that as a clue. So now they would have tent and arena, and you're trying to guess circus out of that, and it kind of gets a little bit more complicated. Having clown would make it really nice. So you're trying to be a little original in the words that you come up with, but not so much that the clues are so weird they can't guess what the word is. It's great. Just One. We'll put that one over here. And then I have Shifting Stones. I've played this one lots. It's a great game. It plays really quick, in about 20 minutes. And you have cards, and the cards will have different patterns on it. And when you have the tiles in the middle of the table that is in a 3x3 grid, when you have those tiles match the pattern on your card, you get to score that card. And depending on how many tiles or how complicated the pattern is, how many points they're worth. So you can flip the tile to go to the other side, which is another color, or you can swap with the they're sharing sides with. But each time you want to do one of those actions, you got to discard one of your cards to do so. So you got to decide which card are you going to try to score, which card are you just going to give up to move the tiles around so that you can score. Shifting Stone is such a great game. Then I have the Builder. And the Builder is one that I've played lots, and it comes with these little plastic coins, which are really satisfying to play. And then you have your different workers, and you hire the workers to assign them to the buildings that you're building, and they have a requirement of the skills that is required to complete it. Once you have all those skills assigned to it, you flip the building over and you get paid for it. But you need to have the money to hire the workers, so you kind of be careful as to which one. And then once you have them, you can assign them to different buildings. It's really neat. I've played this one lots. It's a great game. I'll put that one over there. Then I have Rolling Browns. I bought this one not realizing it was a roll and write. And it's a roll and write. And what's really neat about it is Jamie Stegmaier kind of created this one, so it's a Stonemaier game. And all the different cards will represent a different one of his games, and then some of them will be like other games. So you have like all these dry erase cards that represents different games that you can play, and then the dice are nice and chunky. And you're kind of going around. I've never played it yet. Now he does do YouTube videos where you kind of play along, and you can actually play along with him on the YouTube videos. I think he started this as a way to kind of keep people entertained during the pandemic, and then created the game from it. It looks great, so I'm really excited to get this one to the table. And then I have Draftesaurus. Draftesaurus is a roll and write that is not a roll and write, but it has that roll and write feel. It's actually a drafting game, and you're drafting these dinosaur meeples, and then somebody rolls the dice, which will create a limitation on your tile, and you place them somewhere in your dinosaur park. And then you do that, and then you'll kind of draw 6 new dinosaurs, and you do that drafting, so passing them to the next player afterwards, and then you'll score the value of all the combinations you've done at the end of the game. It's really cool. It plays super quick. It's fairly simple to learn and play. The kids loved it. And then the last game I have in here is Happy Salmon. Happy Salmon is such a funny game. So you have a deck of cards, and you'll either have a high five where you're doing a high five, pound it, and you'll just do a pound it with somebody else. And you're kind of trying to do that with somebody who has the same card. So you kind of be like, okay, high five, who has a high five? Oh, high five, and you go high five, and you discard the card and go to the next one. So high five, pound it, switcheroo, where you run around the table and take each other's spot. And there's the Happy Salmon shake, where you go. It looks ridiculous, but it's so much fun. And then the first player to get rid of all their cards is the winner. One game is 6 players. Second game is 6 players, so if you combine them, then you can play up to 12 players. The mayhem makes it so interesting. So that is it for this box. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for box number, what are we now, 24? Oh, the end is near. So 3 more boxes to go. This was box 23. Be sure to stay tuned when I'm all done and I get the games all organized, so you get like the big reveal of how the board game is set up. Now I've got a few empty cubbies left, but I've got a lot of boxes left as well. I'm kind of nervous that I may not have enough shelves. Do I need to do a trip to IKEA? Oh, we'll see. Okay, so bye everybody.